Today we are diving into a pretty wild 17th century Japanese novel called The Life of an Amorous Man. And what's so cool about it is that it reads like this surprisingly modern guide to living life without a single regret. And it all starts with a really radical question.
Seriously, what if the whole point of your existence wasn't duty, or honor, or preparing for some afterlife, but just to experience as much joy and beauty as you possibly could? That's the core idea we're going to unpack. But to really get it, we've got to go back in time and understand the world this story came from.
So first up, we have to travel back to its setting, late 17th century Japan. This period was known as the Floating World.
Now, the absolute best way to picture this era is to imagine the Italian Renaissance crashing into the Roaring Twenties. For centuries, Japan had been torn apart by civil war, but now peace had finally arrived. And with that peace came this incredible explosion of art, culture, and business. It was just a time of unbelievable energy and change.
But right at the heart of this society was this fascinating, kind of upside-down paradox. You had the samurai, right? The ruling warrior class. They had all the status, all the political power, but they were living on fixed salaries and were actually getting poorer. And then you had the merchants. Technically, they were at the very bottom of the social ladder, but thanks to all this newfound peace and trade, they were becoming ridiculously wealthy.
So what do you do when you have tons of money but no status? Well, this new merchant class built their own world, these incredible entertainment districts that were like a mix of Broadway, Las Vegas, and the best Parisian salons all rolled into one. And in this world, your family name didn't matter. Money was king. They called it ukiyo, the floating world. And that name is a brilliant pun. They took the Buddhist term for the sorrowful world and just flipped it, creating a world dedicated to fleeting earthly joy instead. And it's into this glittering, chaotic world that our protagonist, a man named Yonosuke, is born. His life story is, and I'm not exaggerating, a roller coaster of incredible highs and absolutely devastating lows.
You see, Yonosuke was a prodigy, but not in school or on the battlefield. By age 7, he was already an expert in the art of love. As a teenager, he became this huge cultural icon, a real trendsetter in fashion and romance. But his lifestyle was so dedicated to pleasure, so over the top, that by 19, his own father disowned him, cut him off completely. And for the next 15 years, he just wandered Japan as an outcast, learning firsthand what it was like to have nothing.
And you have to understand, in a society where your family name was everything, being disinherited wasn't just about losing your allowance. It was a social death sentence. He lost his identity, his entire place in the world.
But Yonosuke's story doesn't end there, not even close. At age 34, his life takes another wild turn, and Act 2 begins.
His father dies, the disinheritance is reversed, and Yonosuke inherits a massive fortune. We're talking the modern equivalent of tens of millions of dollars. Just like that, the penniless wanderer becomes one of the richest men in Japan.
But, and this is the crucial part, Yonosuke doesn't just become some rich playboy. He takes all the empathy and understanding he learned during his years in poverty and applies it to his true passion. He treats the pursuit of pleasure, what the book calls the way of love, like a serious discipline. This wasn't just about indulgence. It was a total art form. It required mastering style, conversation, poetry, music, all with a level of commitment that a samurai would have for his sword.
And this whole philosophy, it wasn't just a lifestyle choice. It was a profound, and I mean profound, rebellion against the biggest beliefs of his time.
Okay, so the main Buddhist philosophy of the time was something called Mujo. The basic idea was that life is impermanent and full of suffering, so you should detach yourself from worldly desires. But the author, Ihara Saikaku, he takes that idea and just completely flips it on its head. His argument? Because life is fleeting, we have a duty, an obligation, to squeeze every last drop of joy from our short time here.
This quote pretty much captures the book's entire message. It's a direct shot at both the samurai code that glorified dying an honorable death and the Buddhist ideal of giving up worldly pleasure. It basically declares that being alive and all its messy, imperfect, desire-filled glory is the only thing that really matters.
So this brings us to the novel's absolutely shocking conclusion, and how this centuries-old message is more relevant than ever for us today.
So when Yonosuke turned 60, he'd reached what was considered a full life cycle back then. The expected path, the playbook, was pretty clear. You were supposed to shave your head, become a monk, and spend your final years praying for a smooth entry into the afterlife. But Yonosuke does the exact opposite.
He declares, "I refuse to just wait for death." He spends every last cent of his remaining fortune to build one last magnificent ship. And then, with his closest friends, he sets sail for a mythical island of women, choosing an eternal quest for pleasure over a quiet, respectable end. He literally sails off the map, forever chasing his passion.
And that really brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? In our own world, with all its expectations and social media pressures and anxieties about the future, Yonosuke's story asks something really powerful. What true desires are you suppressing because you're worried about what other people might think?
Ultimately, the life of an amorous man isn't just some scandalous old story from a long-gone era. It's a timeless, powerful prescription, sent across 3 centuries, reminding all of us to chase what we love with courage and to live our one fleeting life to the absolute fullest.